Hello kids, Shubhamangalam at Liquid Scholars. Myself Sudeep. I'll be taking up class 10 for today. So we are going to continue with chapter 1 where we left. I've taught you what are spherical mirrors, what are the two kinds of spherical mirrors that we are discussing. It is nothing but concave and convex. Why are they called as spherical mirrors is also being discussed. I've also discussed the parts that you need to deal with, different terminologies like the pole, the focus and the center of curvature. You know what is the radius over here. You know how to draw a normal right now. You know that the laws of reflection are valid even for the spherical mirrors. Okay, like it be plane or spherical, the laws of reflection are always going to be valid. Further, we are going to study in detail about the spherical mirrors. For this we have an activity. Basically this activity happens to be really important, so you need to be a little smart while understanding this. Basically you need a V stand where you're going to place a concave mirror. Okay, do you understand this? You need a V stand where I place a concave mirror, and you need an object. What is the object that I'm going to consider? It is nothing but the candle. Okay with everyone? So the pole of the concave mirror is definitely going to be the midpoint of the concave mirror. Yes or no? So I will write P over here for your understanding. Are you following this? We are discussing a lab activity where we are going to understand where the images are going to be formed with respect to different position of the object. Okay, we are going to place the object at different positions and we are going to observe where the image or the resultant image is going to be formed with the help of the concave mirror. Okay, so we have a V stand over here, and on the V stand we are placing the concave mirror. What is the object I am going to consider? It is the candle. So I need to mark three important points over here. It is P, F and C. What does the P stand for? It stands for the pole of the mirror. F stands for the focus of the mirror. And C stands for the center of curvature. Okay. So there we go. Fine. So we are placing it on a particular white paper where we also have a scale. Okay, I've placed the object at a certain position. What is that position called as? That position where the object is placed is said to be beyond C. Okay, the object is placed beyond C. Can you see that? Yes or no, class? So, where will I keep my screen to get the image? Okay, so we need to do some trial and error over here so that we understand where to place the screen. The screen is nothing but a white paper. Okay, where am I going to place the white paper to get my resultant image? I have my concave mirror at the P position, which is nothing but the pole. I have my object beyond C. Where do I place my screen to get the resultant image? So I have to place my screen somewhere over here between F and C to get the resultant image. And the resultant image is going to be inverted. If it's an inverted image, this means it is a real image. Do you understand? It is going to be diminished also. So, whenever I place my object beyond C, the image formed will be between F and C. Okay, on page number 6 you have a table. Please note these, uh, details in the table, the characteristics and the nature of the image. Whatever I tell you, please note down in the table. Okay, the first case over here is maybe beyond C is one number up or one number down. Just check wherever you have the object placed at beyond C, and you need to write the required details over there. So I'm repeating it again. The first case that I'm going to consider is that the object is placed beyond C. When the object is placed beyond C, I place my screen of white paper between F and C and I get the resultant image. What is the nature of the resultant image? It is real, inverted and diminished. Did you understand? Why do I call it diminished? Because it is lesser than the size of the original image. Okay, it is not the candle that you are going to get. It is this light part, the flame part that you are going to get on the white paper over here as the image. Okay with everyone? After this we also have the ray diagrams for you to understand. So for now, try to understand what am I speaking and where is the actual placement of all the things. Fine, this was our first case. What would be the second case? The second case is going to be when I place my object at C. Okay, class? The second case is when I'm going to place the object at C. What does this mean? I'm going to place my object at the center of curvature. Okay, so when I place the object at the center of curvature, the image is also going to be formed at the center of curvature. It is going to be same size, real and inverted. So where do I place my paper? If I place my paper somewhere over here, it is going to show me the inverted image like this. Okay with everyone? If I place my paper on the center of curvature, I'll be able to see the resultant image on this. How is it happening? You see there is a concave mirror over here. This flame, with the help of the concave mirror, the image is being formed at the center of curvature itself. And to view the image, I am placing a white paper over here. And on the white paper, I can see the reflection. I can see the image, the inverted flame, which is exactly the same size as that of the flame, the original one. Okay with everyone? So what happens when I place the object at the center of curvature? The resultant image will also be at the center of curvature. It is going to be same size, real and inverted. Okay with everyone? And how is this all happening? Is this all magic? No, it is happening all because of the concave mirror. Okay, the object is placed in front of the concave mirror over here, but at a certain position. What is the position? It is nothing but the center of curvature. So to view the image, what am I going to do? I'm going to place a screen, which is nothing but a white paper, at the center of curvature to view the image. Okay, so now what do you think is going to be my next placement over here? Okay, two placements done. We have the next placement, which is also very simple. Okay, the first placement was beyond C. The second placement is at C. Now the placement is when I place the candle between F and C. When I'm going to place the candle between F and C, I need to place the screen beyond C. Do you understand? When I place the candle or the object between F and C, the screen needs to be placed beyond C to get the image. My object is here, the image should be here, beyond C. And what is it? What is the nature of the image now? The nature of the image is going to be real, inverted and enlarged. Did you understand? What was the third case, class? The object is placed between F and C. Where is the image formed? It is formed beyond C. Okay. Now, what is the nature of the image? It is real, inverted and enlarged. What do you mean by enlarged? It is much larger than the original size. Okay with everyone? This is our third case. I am placing the object between F and C. So where do I need to place the screen of white paper right now? I need to place it beyond C to get my resultant image. Okay, and what is the nature of this particular image over here? It is real, inverted and enlarged. Fine. Now, we are moving on to the next case over here. What do you think is going to be the next case, class? Try to note down all the details of this on the table, in the table on page number 6 probably. Fine. So now, let me make it more neater for you. Okay. Now I am going to place the object at the focus. Fine. Where is the object placed now? It is placed at the focus. That is my fourth position. The object is placed at the focus. Fine. Okay, so you need to understand this. The incident rays are going to be parallel to the principal axis. Fine. From the tip of the candle, they are going to be projected on the concave mirror. Okay with everyone? So now you cannot place the screen of white paper between F and C or at C or beyond C. You need to place it very far. Okay, at a certain distance from the setup. And we call this distance as infinity. Much far beyond C also. Okay, only then I will be able to see the image. Okay with everyone? Fine. So when I place my object when I place my object at focus, the screen needs to be placed at a very far distance, and we consider that distance to be infinity. This means when the object is placed at focus, the image will be formed at infinity. What do you think is going to be the, nature of the image? What do you think it is going to be? At infinity, you cannot decide or predict what kind of image it is, but definitely it is going to be real and inverted. Okay, the size may vary because the screen is placed pretty far. The size is going to vary because of this. Definitely it is not point sized, or it may be, depends upon, if you are crossing the beyond sea mark and you enter the infinity mark, which is very very far, and at this particular distance, wherever I place my screen, I may get the image, but the size of the image may vary like that. So for now, you need to understand, whenever I place my object at the focus, the image is going to be formed at infinity. All these two go hand in hand. Whenever the object is placed at infinity, the image is formed at the focus. For example, what? The sun. Do you understand this? When the sun is considered to be at infinity, if sun is the object, the image is formed at the focus. These two, conditions go hand in hand. Okay, when the object is placed at the focus, the image is going to be formed at infinity, and when the object is at infinity, the image is going to be formed at this focus. Okay, and when it is being formed at the focus, it is point sized. Now, the next one that I need to consider over here, I place my object between P and F. Fine. When I place my object between P and F, which is very very near to the mirror over here, what is going to happen? If I place my screen anywhere on the right side over here, I might not get the image. I will not get the image at all. Okay, so now you have to understand that whenever I place my object between P and F, I am not going to get a real image, because it is only real images which can be captured on the screen. All the cases that we have discussed before this, I got an image on the screen because all of them were real images, and real images are inverted. Right now, when I place the object between P and F, I do not get a real image. So I am not going to place the screen anywhere on the right side over here, because even if I do it, I won't get an image class. Okay, so what do you conclude from this? When I place my object between P and F, the nature of the image is definitely not going to be what? Real. Okay, this is our fifth case. When the object is placed between P and F, the image where is going to be formed? We concluded one nature. What is it? Definitely not real. If it is not real, then what is the nature of the image? Virtual. What are the other characteristics of virtual images? They are virtual, are erect. This means what? They are not upside down or inverted. They are just upright. Okay, so you need to understand this. When I place the object between P and F, the image is going to be actually formed in the mirror. You can see it in the mirror, and it appears as if the rays are coming from the mirror. So how do you say it? Whenever the object is placed between P and F, the image is going to be formed behind the mirror. Okay, the image is going to be formed behind the mirror. Basically, how am I going to view this image then? For all the other cases, I was using the white screen or the white paper to view the image. How do I view this image? I view the image in the mirror. Do you understand? Okay. Try to understand what am I speaking over here. If I place my object between P and F, the resultant image is going to be viewed in the concave mirror over here, and it is going to be virtual, erect and enlarged. Did you understand? There is one more feature that we need to add on over here. You are going to see the flame in the mirror itself, and it is going to be upright, not inverted like the other cases, and it is going to be enlarged. Did you understand now? Okay. So these were the 5 cases that we had to discuss with the help of the lab activity. Further, we have certain rules that need to be discussed. I hope you understand what is the difference between real images and what is the difference between real and virtual images. Basically, real images can be caught on the screen. Virtual images cannot be caught on the screen. Okay, real images are inverted. Virtual images, they are not inverted. They are erect. Give me some examples of real images. What do you think? Where can you see real images in your day-to-day life? Cinema projectors, class. Cinemas. And virtual images, the dressing mirror that you see every day. It is upright, yes or no? Whenever you dress up every day in the morning, you see yourself upside down or upright. It is upright. Okay, so that's a virtual image. Okay, so the dressing mirror. The car view mirrors that you see over here also. Okay, you need to think about it. The car view mirror. When you sit inside the car and you're, using the steering, there is a car view mirror. Think about it, whether it is real or virtual. Fine. It definitely gives you a real image. That is why on the ambulances, it is written in an inverted format, the lateral inversion. Okay, they don't write the correct way of AMBULANCE. This is not present on the plate of ambulance buses. They write it in an, laterally inverted way. Why do they write it in a laterally inverted way? This means if you are driving a bike and you have a rear view mirror and there is an ambulance coming from behind. So, as per the rule and as per humanity also, you need to give them way. Yes or no? But how will you know it is an ambulance? Okay, you need to read it. It is written in red bold letters, but in a laterally inverted way. Those laterally inverted letters inside the mirror, they are going to appear exactly correct, and you will be able to read ambulance correctly, and you will give them way. Okay, so you need to understand. Fine. So there are certain rules that you need to consider while you are drawing the ray diagrams. So there are 3 important rules that we will study right now. And we are discussing about the concave mirrors. So the first one is, okay, if this is the concave mirror and this is the pole and this is the focus and this is the center of curvature, you need to understand that PF is equal to FC. PF plus FC is going to give me PC. PC is nothing but the radius of curvature. C is the center of curvature. F is the focal point. And PF is nothing but the focal length. P is the pole of the concave mirror, which is nothing but the midpoint of the concave mirror, and there is a line passing to the midpoint. What is the line called as? It is called as the principal axis. I'll write it over here. The line passing through the midpoint of the concave mirror is called as the principal axis. So, coming to the rules now. If I place my object on the focus, okay, and it is parallel to the principal axis, fine, any line which is parallel to the principal axis, any ray which is projected towards the concave mirror and is parallel to the principal axis, the reflected ray is going to pass through the focal point. Did you understand? Okay, let's look at this much more clearly. If this was my principal axis, and this was my pole, the focus, and the center of curvature. If there is a ray which is coming from infinity, and that's the incident ray. What is the nature of the incident ray over here? It is parallel to the principal axis. So here, this reflected ray is going to pass through the focus. So you need to understand, any incident ray which is parallel to the principal axis, the reflected ray is always going to pass through the focus. Similarly, any incident ray which is passing through the focus, the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. Try to understand. This is the first one. The incident ray is parallel to the principal axis. So the reflected ray passes through the focus. This is rule number 1. Now, let's come to rule number 2. This is my principal axis. This is the concave mirror. This is the pole, the focus, and the center of curvature. So if there is a ray, the incident ray is passing through the focus. Fine, can you see the incident ray passing through the focus? The reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. Did you understand? What was the first rule? Incident ray, reflected ray. The incident ray pass is parallel to the principal axis. What is the reflected ray then? The reflected ray passes through the focus. Second one. What happens in the second case over here, class? In the second case, the incident ray is going to pass through the focus, and the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. You must have used the symbol in maths. Please don't tell me you have not used it. Okay. This was the second rule. Now the third rule. Third rule is the easiest. Trust me. Fine. So I have the principal axis over here and I have the concave mirror. This is the pole, this is the focus, this is the center of curvature. If I have a ray which passes through the center of curvature and reaches the concave mirror, and this is my incident ray, this means the reflected ray is also going to travel in the same line. Did you understand? What is the third rule, class? The incident ray is going to pass through the center of curvature and reach the concave mirror. So when it reaches the concave mirror, every incident ray is going to reflect back. So in which direction is the reflected ray going now? It is going in the same direction of the incident ray. Can you see both the arrows over here? The incident ray was coming in and passing through the center of curvature and reaching the concave mirror over here, and it reflected back in the same direction. Okay with everyone? So let me complete this. The incident ray passes through the center of curvature and the reflected ray goes in the same direction. Now we need to understand the lab activity that we did. Okay, we placed the object at different positions and we got the image at different places. So we need to draw them in the form of ray diagrams, which are pretty simple. I hope you are drawing it along with me and not just looking at what I'm teaching over here. I hope you have opened your textbooks and you're reading along whatever I'm doing. If not the textbook, please open up a book and note down whatever was done till now, including the lab activity as well as these diagrams that I explained you, all these terminologies that have been explained from video number 1 onwards. If you don't do that, then it is very difficult for you to understand anything about reflection or refraction. You need to note down every diagram that I draw. Okay, I hope you have noted down all these 3 rules. These 3 rules will be applicable while drawing your concave ray diagrams, which I will be doing next. Those concave ray diagrams, how am I doing it? Just by my own? No. I am inspired by the lab activity that we just performed. Okay, the lab activity, we were placing the object at different positions. So definitely I got the images at different places. So that needs to be done in the form of ray diagrams also. Okay, we have a perfect table. We just need to look at that and draw those ray diagrams. So I'll do it for you. I hope you will do it along with me, or else at least you will view it now, and after this video you are able to do it on your own also. Remember, only if you practice the ray diagrams you're going to understand them. Otherwise, it's a hard thing. But I know you guys are definitely going to work hard, especially for the ray diagrams, because it's pretty interesting. Even if it is not, please do it. Okay, it is a good topic. You will come to know where are you using all this. Fine, I'll explain it to you once, the ray diagrams, how to draw them, and then I want you to draw them accordingly after the video. Okay, that will be the homework for today. The first case that I'm going to consider is the beyond C case. Fine, class. So you are going to draw the concave mirror and you're going to draw the principal axis. This is the pole, this is the focus, this is the center of curvature. What did I say? I'm going to place the object beyond C. let this arrow of mine represent the object. Okay, the first ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. Is it parallel here? Okay. There is a ray coming from the tip of the candle over here, which is being projected on the concave mirror, and this is my incident ray. What did I say you? Any incident ray, as per the rules class, rule number 1. Okay, as per the rules, if the ray is parallel to the principal axis, if the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, what is the direction of the reflected ray? Where is it going to go? It is going to pass through the focus. Okay, done. Now, what do you think am I going to do? Now the second ray, which is also coming from the tip of the head, is going to pass through the focus. So as per my rule number 2, if the incident ray passes through the focus, the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. Okay, do you see an intersection point over here? This intersection point shows me the head of the image, of course. The base of the image is going to be on the principal axis and it is going to be inverted. Fine with everybody? So you're going to note it down that this particular image, if the object is placed beyond C, the image formed is going to be between F and C. Can you see the image upside down? Yes. This means it is a real image, it is inverted, and it is going to be diminished. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. What do you think will be the next case? Where am I going to place the object? I am going to place the object at C. Fine, I draw the concave mirror again. I draw the principal axis. There is a pole, focus, and the center of curvature. Okay, let me place it a little apart. Fine, I place my object over here. Okay, there is an incident ray which is parallel to the principal axis. Fine, the reflected ray goes to the focus. Now, the second incident ray passes through the focus and the reflected ray is now passing where? It is parallel to the principal axis. Do you understand? This needs to be a little clear over here. It's better I do it again. Fine. It's easier to do with the pencil and scale, when you compare it with markers. So this is C, this is F, this is P, the first incident ray. And then I have the reflected ray. This is my second incident ray. And then I have my reflected ray over here. Okay with everyone? The first incident ray is this one. This is my first reflected ray. And this is my second incident ray. And this is my second reflected ray. So when at the point of intersection, I'm going to draw the image. Can you see the image right now? So what do you understand? When I place my object at C, the image is also going to be at C, but it is going to be real, inverted, at C, and same size. Okay? So I've divided. So we are in our third case over here, class. I'm going to place the object between F and C. So I have the concave mirror, the pole, the focus, and the center of curvature again. I'm going to place the object somewhere between P, F and C over here. Okay. So now the incident ray travels and it is parallel to the principal axis. So now the reflected ray is going to pass through the focus and okay. So now the next, what do you think is going to be the next, incident ray? It is going to be somewhat like this. It is going to pass through the center of curvature and it meets somewhere over here and the image is going to be enlarged. Do you understand? The incident ray is going to meet the concave mirror at this particular position and the reflected ray passes through the center of curvature. So at the intersection point over here, which is definitely not clear because I'm falling short of space, it is basically Sorry for the struggle over here. If I draw it with a scale, it is definitely going to be much neater. But I wanted to draw it in front of you instead of just copying it from the textbook. So this diagram happens when you are considering rule number 1 and rule number 3. Okay, the rule number 1 states when the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, the reflected ray is going to pass to the focus. And rule number 3 states that the incident ray and the reflected ray are on the same line and they are going in the same direction, just opposing each other. That is nothing but the center of curvature. This is rule number 1 and rule number 3. But you can choose any two rules. So this is a bit complicated to draw over here, class. So you need to understand, I have placed my object between F and C. The first incident ray is parallel to the principal axis and the reflected ray is passing through the focus. The second incident ray, I am considering rule number 3. The first one I considered rule number 1 and the second one I am considering rule number 3. What did I do? This I am showcasing an incident ray that is actually passing to the center of curvature, and the reflected ray also happens to go from the center of curvature. That is our rule number 3. Yes or no? So both the arrows are actually on the same line, showing the incidence and the reflection to be in the opposite direction but on the same line. And when these two rays are intersecting, when both the reflected rays are intersecting, I get an enlarged image of what? Of the object. So what is the nature of this particular image over here? It is real, inverted and enlarged. So to make the diagram a bit more easy, let's try considering rule number 1 and 2 only and not rule number 3. Okay, let's try doing that. Basically, as per ray diagram rules or optic rules, you can consider any two of those 4 rules. But I've taught you only 3 rules. The 4th rule is definitely not taken into consideration because it is very complicated and it is beyond the scope of the textbook. So I'll draw this particular position with the help of just the first 2 rules. So this is the concave mirror and this is my pole. This is the focus and this is the center of curvature. If I place my object between F and C, if I place my object between F and C, the first ray is parallel, it passes through the focus. Okay, now the second ray also passes through the focus and the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. So this is going to be somewhere over here. Okay. Yes, there we go. If it is much more neater, you will understand. So basically, this is the point that I need to draw. Okay, there we go. Thanks to the marker, thanks to the boards, makes our work much tougher. This is C. This is the intersection and this is beyond C. Okay, please use a scale and pencil and not draw it freehand like I am doing it. Okay, so what am I considering? I am considering the rule number 1 and rule number 2. Definitely open the textbook as well as the study material while you're drawing it. If you're not following this, definitely at the end of the day I'm drawing the correct diagram for you. Fine. Now the concave mirror is placed over here and we have the object between F and C and the rays projected incident. The first ray is, this is the incident ray and the first reflected ray is somewhere over here and it is passing through the focus because the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis. The reflected ray is going to pass to the focus. The second incident ray is going to pass to the focus and the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. So I have an image over here which is real, inverted and enlarged. Now I have the next one at focus. Okay, this is the concave mirror and I have my pole over here, the focus and the center of curvature. If I place my object somewhere over here, the first incident ray, again, it is going to be somewhat like this. Then the reflected ray is going to pass through the focus. Okay, now you need to understand this. The second ray that I'm going to draw is going to be the undeviated ray. What do you mean by undeviated? Both the incident and the reflected ray are going to be in the same direction. So you need to draw both the arrows over here. So it is going to, the resultant image is going to be formed somewhere at infinity. So here, when the object is at focus, the image is going to be at infinity. And what rules am I considering over here? Rule number 1 and 3. Okay, fine with everyone? One last left down. So I am going to place my object between P and F. This is the most important one and the most repeated question. Actually, all of the ray diagrams are very important. So I have the concave mirror over here, the pole, the focus, and the center of curvature. I'm placing my object somewhere over here between P and F. So here, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, so the incident ray passes over here. Okay, and the reflected ray is going to pass through the focus. Because it is between P and F, the resultant image is going to be behind the mirror, which is virtual, erect, and enlarged. Okay with everyone? So the nature of this particular image is going to be virtual, erect, and enlarged. What do you mean behind the mirror? Is it really going to be behind the mirror? It is going to be in the mirror. You're able to see the image in the mirror. It appears as if it is coming from a virtual point. That is why it is called as virtual image. All these dotted lines that you see over here, these are nothing but the virtual lines. These are definitely, you can bold them. But here, these are bold ones, whereas these lines that you see behind the mirror has to be dotted. What do these dotted lines represent? They represent the virtual lines, the virtual rays. Okay, the virtual rays are going to meet at a virtual point over here, which is going to form a virtual image. So any image that you're going to see in the mirror is definitely going to be the virtual image. Yes or no? The images that you see in the screen are the real images, and the images that you see in the mirror are the virtual images. So this particular image that I'm drawing, while we draw it behind the mirror. But in reality, it is actually going to be appearing in the mirror. Okay with everyone, the virtual image appears in the mirror. While you draw the ray diagram, you signify that the rays are coming as if they are coming from a mirror. For example, when you're standing in front of the dressing table and you're looking at your image, and you're holding a ball in your hand. So the image of the ball, it appears as if the, ball rays are appearing from the mirror. Basically, we have studied this in class 8 also. Okay, we have a dressing table kind of thing, and then, the virtual point is somewhere over here. So the virtual point is drawn depending upon the object that you're holding in your hand, like that. Okay, this is the real object and this is the virtual point, and the image appears as if the rays are coming from the mirror. Okay, so theoretically speaking, we actually know that the virtual images are formed in the mirror, but when we draw it, we draw them behind the mirror, and the dotted lines there are going to represent the virtual lines, and the bold lines represent the real ones, of course. Now we have three rules with the help to understand the ray diagrams of convex mirrors also. Okay, there were three rules when we understood the concave mirrors. Now we have three rules to understand the ray diagrams of the convex mirrors. So if this is my convex mirror, remember the rays are going to be projected on the bulged portion. So if this is the pole, this is the focus, this is the center of curvature. So if there is a ray which is parallel to the principal axis, the reflected ray is going to diverge. Okay, it is going to diverge in such a way that it appears as if it is coming from the focus. Did you understand now? Okay. Now you need to understand it again. Listen to me very carefully. The incident ray is being projected on the bulged portion of the convex mirror, and the reflected ray diverges and goes in a certain direction. The reflected ray diverges in such a way as if it is coming from the focal point of the convex mirror. This is rule number 1. Now rule number 2. It will be the converse of what you have just studied right now. Okay. So if there is a incident ray which is at a certain point, and if the incident ray is in the direction of the focus, okay, if the incident ray is in the direction of the focus, the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. I repeat it again. If the incident ray is in the direction of the focus, the reflected ray is parallel to the principal axis. Okay, now there is one last rule which I will draw it over here. Now, the third rule and the most simplest of all, you have the convex mirror over here, and this is the principal axis, this is the pole, this is the focus, and this is the center of curvature. So, if there is a incident ray which is in the direction of the center of curvature, the reflected ray is also going to be in the same direction. This is the undeviated ray. Isn't there a similarity between this and the concave mirror ray diagram? Yes or no? So these were the three rules of convex mirrors. The first one states that if the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, the reflected ray is going to diverge and it appears as if it is coming from the focus of the convex mirror. The second one, the second rule states that if the incident ray is parallel to the principal axis, if the incident ray is in the direction of the focus, okay, this is the incident ray in the second case. If the incident ray is in the direction of the focus, the reflected ray is going to be parallel to the principal axis. The third and the final rule states that if the incident ray is in the direction of center of curvature, then the reflected ray appears as if it is coming from the center of curvature. This means it is undeviated. Okay, both the rays are in the same line. As you can see, I have drawn arrows over here which actually signify the same thing, that the incident ray and the reflected ray are in the same position over here. Remember, what does the line from the center to any point on the mirror represent? It represents the normal ray. For example, if there was a plane mirror over here and I draw a normal ray, if the incident ray was in the direction of the normal, the reflected ray is also going to be in the direction of the normal. Yes or no? So this rule is applicable even in the plane mirrors, as well as we did the concave mirrors also, and the rule number 3 states the same thing. As I told you, you can draw the ray diagrams using any two of the three rules. What I actually suggest you is to use the rule number 1 and 2, because the 3, when we draw it, it becomes complicated, but it actually gives the diagram also. I've shown you, okay, when we were drawing between F and C object and we got the image beyond C, we have done it in two styles using rule number 1 and 3 and rule number 1 and 2. Okay, so what I suggest is, please review the video again and play and pause at points where you need to look at the diagram and understand where are the two incident rays reflecting. We always consider two incident rays coming from the object, and the diagram, the resultant image, is going to be drawn with the help of the two reflected rays which are going to intersect at a certain point. Listen to me, we are going to use two incident rays which are coming from the object, and these two incident rays are going to be reflected, and when these two reflected rays are going to intersect, they form a certain image. That image helps us to understand where we what is the nature of the image, the characteristics of the image. Do you understand now? So what rules are you going to use when you are going to draw the ray diagrams? The rule number 1, 2 and 3 of the concave mirror, and 1, 2 and 3 of the convex mirror. Which rules to prefer mostly? Use rule number 1 and rule number 2. Okay, also you can use rule number 3, but you need to be careful while drawing the diagram. Of course, it is very good and easy to draw it on a pen and a paper. When you draw it on the board, is of course you know what happened. Okay, so I hope you are pretty much clear with whatever happened over here. The next we are going to deal with the derivation and the problems. Thank you.